Okay, we've got a lot to talk about with UFOs today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Yeah, this is really interesting. It looks like the House of Representatives, members from it are going to meet with AARO tomorrow. That's right, classified House members only briefing for members of the National Security Subcommittee on UAP by the Pentagon's office, which office probes reports of such things, AARO. And we have further details from Dean Johnson, Congress UAP UFO update. In response to my inquiry, I received the following explanatory statement from a spokesperson for the Oversight and Accountability Committee in the House. There will be a bipartisan classified briefing on Friday with Dr. John Kozlowski, the lovely Kozlowski, the director of AARO. The briefing is open to all members of the Oversight Committee. The National Security Subcommittee Chairman Glenn Grothman requested the briefing. This briefing will focus on AARO's recent annual report and provide members of the committee the opportunity to ask AARO follow-up questions from last month's UAP hearing. Now, I assume that means the hearing with Kozlowski, which was actually in the Senate, not in the House. But, since this is the House, I have to wonder if it's a follow-up briefing with, about the House hearing with Lou Elizondo and the others. I don't know. I guess we'll see if they tell us this is a behind closed doors meeting. So we'll see how much slips out after the meeting. Either way, I'm not encouraged. I mean, it's AARO, it's Kozlowski, the same guy that was trying to debunk the Go Fast video. I think he's basically another Shocker Patrick. He puts a slightly better face on it, but he's pretty lovely from what I'm seeing. Meanwhile, Danny Sheehan has some encouraging comments about the new administration.
As we all know, Donald Trump has won the election, will be inaugurated on January 20th. He has stated on at least 4 different occasions publicly that it's his intention, once he's inaugurated, to release all of the information that is in the possession of the United States government pertaining to UFOs and the potential ET phenomenon, and what is now known as the non-human intelligence that's associated with the phenomenon. So that's caused quite a stir. Now that, among other reasons of his having been elected, it's causing a lot of stirs everywhere. But if, in fact, he goes forward to start to reveal this information, it's extraordinarily important that we, in the consciousness community, kind of respond to whatever it is that he starts to publicly release to assist people in kind of absorbing the full dimensions of what it is.
So there you go, Danny Sheehan, optimistic about the Trump presidency releasing UFO files. I don't know how much we're going to get. I do expect Trump to release some stuff. He said he would. He said he had to, as if it was a calling that he had to do. And he also wants to declassify JFK files, etc. He seems big on transparency, which could bode well for UFO transparency. However, I would be shocked if they just opened up the can of worms and released everything. We may get some historical stuff and, interesting stuff, I would expect. But they're not going to talk about the dumbs. They're not going to talk about the UFO control group assisting in abductions or treaties they have with beings or shooting down UFOs. I would be shocked if they got into all of that, but I would love to be shocked. So what about you? Are you optimistic about a UFO disclosure of some sort in the Trump presidency? I do think we're going to get something, but again, I'm not expecting the whole kit and caboodle, but let me know what you think. Meanwhile, Ross Goldhart, this is from a few days ago, is commenting on the current drone flap or UFO flap, whatever is going on.
Asher, the sightings at the moment are off the charts. I've been talking to people from MUFON, and they're telling me that reports not only in the US over sensitive US military facilities, particularly facilities with nuclear weapons or nuclear power, but also over the United Kingdom, there are spates of what the US Air Force is continuing to describe as drone sightings over some of the most sensitive RAF, Royal Air Force bases in the United Kingdom. And we know, apocryphally, that they are bases where nuclear weapons are allegedly located and they are shared with the US Air Force. It's an issue of grave concern. In fact, it should be a national security concern that right now, over sensitive military facilities across the United States, as we've reported before, I think I've spoken to you about sightings over the Langley Air Force Base in Virginia, we're now seeing those over the continental USA and across Europe, particularly in the United Kingdom. Sightings are off the charts. I've never had so many reports coming in. And a lot of them, intriguingly, Natasha, are orbs, plasma orbs with this distinctive orange-red colour that Officer Klein saw.
Yeah, you're talking about the case in 2022. But yeah, he's talking mainly about the current flap going on, and he says that he has never seen anything like this, that he's receiving so many reports that he just seems really amazed by all the reports that he's getting and everything that's going on. Meanwhile, we have a WikiLeaks leak, supposedly, alleges a secret war with UFOs in Antarctica. The infamous and embattled Julian Assange had made prior comments to the announced release of many of his controversial intelligence leaks that there would be UFO-related materials. Such was the case recently when WikiLeaks revealed alleged compromised Department of Defense cabled communications indicating the U.S. Armed Forces may be in the midst of a secret war with UFOs. Well, they certainly are. They're shooting at UFOs, so yeah, something like that is going on. According to the sources that were revealed, there was an all-out alert issued by the Air Force Space Command after the emergence of a large flotilla of airborne UFOs from the floor of the southern seas of the Antarctic. I guess those would be USOs. This armada of unknown objects headed toward Guadalajara, Mexico. With U.S. warplanes deployed and all radars intensified on the inbound targets, the massive UFO fleet supposedly dimensionally relocated themselves back to submerge in the Antarctic oceans once again. The incident occurred June 10th, 2004. Recently, another massive emergence of unknown objects headed toward the southern tip of South America and flew over Chile. Experts say that the immediate threat posed by these huge displays of large numbers as they launch from beneath the waters is the dangerous wave they generate that is capable of sinking ocean traffic, such as freighters and other vessels. Now, I raised my eyebrow at that. These objects don't seem to interact with air when they pass through the skies. They don't seem to pass through water in the same way that, our own vehicles do. So I'm skeptical of them creating a huge wave when they emerge all at once. But to go on, in the most recent appearance of the UFO armada from the Antarctic Southern Ocean, one cruise ship was nearly capsized with 160 aboard, while another vessel was overturned with a crew of 60 with only 20 rescued survivors. I'll let you read the rest of it at your leisure. This is from UFO Digest. And I'm looking for the original WikiLeaks leak, the link to the WikiLeaks page, but I can't find it. If you do, let me know in the comments below. Meanwhile, we have another potential leak. This is from Ruby, who says a person who claims to have worked on a project in relation to NHI. The person was given access to documents in order for the team to write up their report and conclusions. The person says, because of my past work experience, Most of my work on the report was related to the actual interviews that had taken place with ETs. They were retrieved from crashes, but also from landings where the craft seemed to have landed on purpose and the beings came voluntarily. Reading those was very surreal, and I suspect the context of these interviews is part of the reason for so much secrecy. The way that they were treated was inhumane and very unethical. The ETs have a very close relationship with their technology. They cannot survive very long while separated from their craft and from each other. They can't eat anything other than a special kind of liquid food, and human-made substitutes were not sufficient replacements. Throughout their stay on Earth, they would suffer from malnutrition and a kind of toxic buildup in the body. Because of how valuable they were, every effort was taken to keep them alive and conscious, even against their wishes. Something that deeply frustrated me was that they seemed to want to show us so much more, but because of the irresponsible behavior of the program, they could not. They were separated from their craft permanently so the craft could be hauled off elsewhere and auctioned off, and so that the program would have total control over the interview process. Because of this separation, the ETs would slowly die. And then the communication would take place with by way of telepathy. So yeah, fascinating stuff. Who knows if it's true or not? A lot of that lines up with stuff we've already heard. The alien interview, etc. All of that was taken from a crash. The beings didn't surrender voluntarily. But yeah, very interesting. Well, let me know if you think this is on the level. Meanwhile, getting back to the House hearing on UAP with Lou Elizondo, why were the Congress people not allowed to ask certain questions?
We're met with people not wanting us to have hearings. We're met with people not wanting us to ask you questions. In fact, many of us were told not to ask some of you certain questions on certain topics.
Yeah, George Knapp is also very curious about this.
These members of Congress, Nancy Mace, saying, we've been told we can't ask questions about XYZ. Told by who? Who told you? What questions can't you ask? Not very clear. They had that hearing. They were offered direct hands-on whistleblowers. I can tell you that for sure. They didn't take the offer. There's that 11, 12-page report that was submitted to the record. Jeremy Corbell is the one that gave it to him. I know because I had read it and helped in preparing them, putting it together. And Jeremy gave it to them the night before. He showed it to Michael Schellenberger. He had never seen it. The committee thanks Michael in open hearing. Thank you for giving us that report. Michael didn't give it to him. He had never seen it before. Jeremy gave it to him. They distorted that. There were people in the room who were watching them, so they didn't ask certain questions. They have been unable to get a skiff to take some of these whistleblowers in. What the hell's the problem in Congress members getting a skiff so they can hear sensitive matters? I don't understand it. I don't understand who's pulling all the strings here, but I suspect it's the same people that have always been pulling these strings.
I agree, George, but that's really interesting that the Congress people were prevented from asking certain questions of certain people, and also that somebody seems to have been preventing them from bringing forth the actual witnesses, the real genuine whistleblowers that may have been participants of these programs, of these crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs. Apparently they had that opportunity to bring these guys forward, and they didn't. Why? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Meanwhile, a cool sighting from December 1st in Colombia.
I usually post, but then again, this is kind of weird. Went to the window, I'm in South America for work, to close my blind, 5:54 p.m., Medellin, Colombia, and here it is. It's just this sphere moving north to south, and I was able to track it. I actually got a couple of still shots as well, but after it goes down below the horizon, I could still see it, but it didn't pick it up on video very well. It went, it was lighter than the distance. But what is this thing? Not what I usually post.
Yeah, what is that thing, guys? Is it a drone? Speaking of drones, Tim McMillan had some really interesting comments.
That with this story, it's really taken off in the past couple weeks or so. Large credit in part to the war zone, Tyler Rogoway. I think we first reported the first incidents that were occurring late October or early November, I guess, recent, a couple weeks ago. And so this story's really taken off, and I've watched it kind of take off in somewhat bemusement, because I think one of the things that people don't realize is how frequent and common this is. This seems like, oh my God, what is going on? The UK can't control their airspace. These NATO bases can't control their secure airspace. All this stuff from unmanned aerial systems. And the fact of the matter is this has been going on for years, and it happens quite more frequently than people realize. In fact, I believe NORAD last year alone said there were over 600 drone incursions at just U.S. military installations.
That's insane, guys. So if this has been going on for years, why are we just hearing about it now? Now, of course, we know there's been activity over U.S. military bases for forever. They've been shutting off, nukes. They've been turning on nukes in Russia. They've been, dogging our fleets and so on. There's all sorts of surveillance. There is even like different categories of surveilling UFOs or whatever they are. There's the dragons that Dr. Robert Scheip has made famous. They should be famous. These small UFOs that will buzz aerial vehicles, seemingly about some sort of surveillance mission. We don't really know what they're doing, but we don't know what other reasons they would have for doing that. But then there's objects that are going over these bases. There's the Tic Tacs that were swarming near a U.S. war fleet. There's other objects that have swarmed U.S. war fleets, spheres, pyramids. But yeah, you do seem to see these categories of UFOs that will perform this surveillance, these surveillance functions. What is that about? And if this recent flap that we're experiencing in the UK and in the US isn't so much of a flap, but we're just now looking up or noticing them, or, reports are now just getting out so that they can't keep a lid on it anymore. I don't know, but it's super interesting. Let me know your thoughts. Meanwhile, here's a video seen in Devonshire, England on the 1st. Looks very tic-tac-ish. Yeah, okay. I guess there's no narration. But yeah, very looks like a good tic-tac sighting, or possibly a saucer on its side. Who knows? These things come in such weird shapes. Oh, look at that. I like how it pops around the roof and then says, hey, wait a minute. Did you get a look at me? Here I am. Here I am. Oh, that's funny. Yeah. It says, no, you're not done looking at me yet. Okay, I'll go now. All right. Well, let me know what you think about that sighting and everything else covered today in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. Smash the like button and the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. You don't want to miss a thing. Join me on social media. There's Facebook and Twitter links below. Love to see you guys there. If you want to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, consider grabbing a coffee mug or a t-shirt in the merch store below, or by becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Meanwhile, there's plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.